Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 28 of the Big at the Back podcast on the eve of the biggest game week ever. Well, it's not the eve, it starts on Saturday, but we're going to be calling it the eve of the biggest game week ever. I'm Tom, I'm here to dissect it, and I'm joined once again by the effervescent Matthew Higgins. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Is it the biggest game week ever?
Well, it's the biggest
Definitely
game
the biggest of the season.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But I'm good, thanks. It briefly felt like summer at the weekend. It was lovely on Saturday. It was also perfect weather to be sitting indoors watching football all day, if you ask me.
I agree. There was football, there was the Masters. What more could you want?
It was lovely, and the missus was out all day, so it was even better. Things don't get much better than that, do they?
We don't need sunshine here. We're British. Sunshine scares us, and we get sunburnt.
Yeah, exactly. How are you anyway? How was your weekend?
I'm good. I was very drunk on Saturday, which was fun. But then I just chilled out on Sunday, and I'm now back to work today. So I've got quite a few just
like Craig David. You chilled on Sunday.
Exactly. I've got quite a few calm, quiet weekends ahead. So
probably needed after the last couple of weekends.
Yeah, I would think so. And also, I've got to save myself up for the 19th of May, which is our big last game week of the season. And we have decided, here's a big at the back announcement, that the big at the back betting fund is now going to be used as Tom and Matt's last day of the season drinking fund. It's currently standing, we started with £50. It's currently standing at £160. So let's see if we can get that to 200 by the end of the season.
Wouldn't that be nice? We'd do well to spend that much.
To be honest, in Rayleigh, we definitely would do well to spend that much.
Yeah, true, yeah.
That's what you're probably looking at about £5 a pint. Oh, God. So 20
should we go out for like a slap-up meal as well?
Yeah, we might need to. So today, as game week 34 is a massive double game week, the biggest one of the season, we are going to do a bit of a deep dive into what teams and what players we should be targeting if we're in a free hit and for anyone else in whatever position you're in. So we're going to go position by position from goalkeeper to forwards, talk about the best options you can get for each position for this game week. Now, before that, we have one more game to go, which is going to be played in about an hour or so, which is Chelsea versus Everton. But how are you getting on for game week 33? Talk to me about how you're feeling after this game week and what you scored as.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's been a couple of weeks since we caught up as well. So in that time, I've drastically improved my situation, which is very nice. I've had a couple of green arrows in a row. So I've gone from around about 1 million to currently 594,000, which after my subs will go up a little bit more as things stand as well, obviously, with tonight's game still to be played. So I'm currently on 42 points for the week, with an extra 5 points currently to come off of my bench with Palmer to play tonight. So not too bad. Obviously, the double Arsenal defence has let me down for the first time in a little while, but I'm not going to complain too much with the points that I've got from them in that time. Reguilon with his second return in a row, picking up 8 points. Aït-Nouri, nothing from him. Foden, nothing from him, which means I've got Garnacho and Dalot coming off my bench for points. Midfield was a bit of a write-off so far. Nothing from Salah, nothing from Saka. And then Haaland with the armband, of course. Solanke with 7 points. And Darwin doing Darwin things.
We'll speak a lot more about Darwin on this podcast. I have had a green arrow last week, I think, as well. But I'm looking at a very, very slight red arrow this week. So I'm currently on 39 points with 2 to come off the bench. I've still got Pickford and Palmer left to play tonight as well. Hoping Pickford can at least pick up some points. I'd happily take 2 Palmer goals and 9 Pickford saves or so. That would do.
Not asking for too much, are you, Tom?
No. But I had the double Arsenal defence, but Ben White was taken off before any of the goals went in, so he kept the clean sheet points, which is nice. Ben White being jammy. We can talk a little bit more about Arsenal and Arteta in a little bit as well, because he threw that game hard. just preparing for Bayern, but yeah, you've possibly thrown the Premier League by doing so. But overall, not too bad, about average, and we move. And I feel like I'm set up really nicely for the double game week where, spoiler alert, my bench boost is already active.
Ooh, exciting.
I know, wild stuff. So let's dive in. Double game week 34. Now, the teams that have doubles are Arsenal, who have Wolves away and Chelsea at home, are Bournemouth, who have Aston Villa away, Wolves at home, are Crystal Wolves away. So, Bournemouth have 2 away games. Sorry, so Villa away and Wolves away. That is important. You have Crystal Palace, who have 2 home games, West Ham at home and Newcastle at home. You have Everton, who have Forest at home and Liverpool at home. Then you have Liverpool with Fulham away, Everton away. And then you have Sheffield United with Burnley at home, Man U away. And then you have Wolves with Arsenal at home, Bournemouth at home. Some really, really interesting games. So, as says at the very top of the pod, let's take it from the goalkeeping options all the way through to the forward options. And I think with goalkeeping options, we can have a really interesting discussion about this because there's a few players on the table that I think are worth talking about. Now, I think the first player we need to discuss really is David Raya. Because if you take the Arsenal-Aston Villa game aside, just put it to one side, consider it an anomaly. David Raya is by far the best goalkeeper you can have out of all the goalkeepers for this week. However, he then locks you out of a third Arsenal outfield player. So for me, David Raya is unownable. What's your perspective on him for this game week?
I think it's just taking the game week in isolation. I agree with you. And I say that as someone who has got David Raya in his side at the moment. If I could, I would try and find a way to manoeuvre him out and then bring another Arsenal player in. But I'm stuck with him as things stand. I agree with you in terms of he's the best goalkeeper in terms of clean sheets, in terms of XG against. If you look at Arsenal over the last few games, obviously the Villa game was much of an anomaly, but I think in the previous 4 games, they'd only conceded about 5 shots on target in that time. So if you take that into account, then obviously he's the best option. But like you say, I think you're better off using those Arsenal assets in outfield positions. There's just so many options there at the moment. The other thing is, obviously, with everything we're talking about here, the caveat is the European fixtures in midweek. So they could change everything, because if Arsenal go out, then they're probably going to be much more likely to go full in on both of these fixtures. Whereas if they've still got Champions League ideas to think about, they might be a little bit more susceptible to rotation.
I don't think that's true. I don't think they are. I think Arsenal aren't. I think, what do they play on Wednesday? Is it?
Yes.
And they don't play again until Sunday, the Wolves game. So I don't think that rotation is necessarily going to be a factor with Arsenal. I think if they lose, then they could have the wins knocked out of their sails a little bit. But I think David Raya is the best goalkeeper, but it's unownable. I'm more interested, actually, before we go on an Arsenal tangent, I'm more interested in looking at the other goalkeepers, because that's where it gets really, really interesting. For me, the ones that stand out are actually we can dive into Liverpool Palace a bit, because Dean Henderson putting in a 10 out of 10 performance. Of course, every keeper pulls out the best performance of their career against Liverpool. It's just how the world works this season. They'll put 0 out of 10 against City and Arsenal, but 10 out of 10 against Liverpool. It's atrocious. But he played brilliantly, pulled off some absolutely worldy saves to get them the win. Is Dean Henderson an option?
I genuinely think out of the other goalkeepers, he is the best option for me.
Ooh,
again, take this as 1 week in a nutshell, in a vacuum. While I will also caveat that by saying it's very unlikely that a goalkeeper puts in another performance like he did on Sunday. Those performances for goalkeepers come maybe once or twice a season if you're lucky. But 2 home fixtures, one against the West Ham side, who are very much struggling at the moment, and obviously have European football on Thursday. The other against the Newcastle side, who are very much in form, but he will face a lot of shots, you'd imagine. So regardless, I could easily see him getting a clean sheet and a lot of save points in there in those 2 games, and they're both home fixtures.
See, I disagree. So I actually, for me, he pulled out that performance against Liverpool, fine, but he's still Dean Henderson. Like, I feel like we know who Dean Henderson is, and he needs more than one wonder game against Liverpool to convince me. However, I think the goalkeeper with the most points this week in isolation will be Jordan Pickford. Everton have Nottingham Forest at home and Liverpool at home, so 2 home games. Now, against Nottingham Forest, that is not only is it a 6-pointer, but it's a battle of the cheaters.
Battle of the budgets.
Battle of the budget cheaters. They both been deducted points. Everton will be really up for it. It's at Goodison. Jordan Pickford will have a fire under his arse. And also, they're playing Liverpool. Let's be honest, if there's a team that take a lot of shots and don't score many of them, it's Darwin Nunez-led Liverpool. You're guaranteeing save points. Even if they're going to concede, you're guaranteeing save points. I think for Pickford, there is maybe a clean sheet here, but there's a fuckload of save points. You could genuinely see a world where Liverpool scored 5 and Jordan Pickford gets man of the match. It's happened numerous times before. So I really think Pickford is the pick.
I feel a bet coming on.
Oh, are we looking at a little bit? Who could get the most goalkeeper points?
Which goalkeeper between Henderson and Pickford will get the most points next week? Worth a tenner or worth a pint?
Worth a pint, but I'll caveat by they're both going to get 2 points now, aren't they?
4 points, please.
That would be nice.
Maybe 3.
But yeah, let's put a pint in it. Whoever loses buys the first pint next time we're out.
Deal.
Let's a word on the other goalkeepers then, because Bournemouth are interesting. 2 away games, but Neto can pick up save points. He is my second keeper on my bench boost. If I was taking this in isolation, I probably wouldn't have him as high as Pickford or Henderson, but I think he's still worth a mention.
That being said, he got 0 points against Man United.
They did need to cheat for that.
Yeah, I would say the next best is Jose Sarr.
That was what I was saying,
again, 2 home fixtures, one against Arsenal, but the other against Bournemouth. I would say he's the next best bet.
But with Jose Sarr, don't you get the impression I know he got an assist the last game, brilliant. But I feel like if you looked at every team in the Premier League, Wolves have conceded 2 goals in a game, and only 2 goals in a game, more than any other team. Now, that's a pure guess, but if you think about it,
feels like that.
It feels like that, and that's probably like conceding 2 goals just feels like the right amount for Wolves to concede. And I feel like against Arsenal, they're probably going to concede 2. Against Bournemouth, Solanke in form, you can probably see them conceding 1 or 2. I'm not sure there's clean sheets there. I think there's save points, but I think I'd rather go for a Henderson or a Pickford. I think there's more upside, and they're both cheaper as well. Jose Sarr's 5 million, and Pickford's 4.7. Henderson's 4.3. So I don't know. I'd rather save the money and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. And the other goalkeeper that is probably worth mentioning at this point, who is again, I would say, untouchable in this double game week, which is weird to say, is Alisson. 2 away games, they don't keep clean sheets, and he doesn't make a lot of saves because they don't give away the most chances when you compare them to teams lower down the table. So he's not going to get you as many save points. He's probably not going to get you a clean sheet. And he locks you out of going for 3 Liverpool outfield players.
And Trent is back, so we're going to concede loads more chances.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, not that Bradley's been any good the past few games, to be fair, but Trent going inside, every team's just going to start bombing down that right-hand side again. It's going to be a shit show. So, yeah, I'm not competent, and I wouldn't be going Alisson. The other goalkeeper, who I don't even know the name of the Sheffield United goalkeeper, but can we just
Grubic or something? Is it?
Yeah, I think that's just an automatic no for me. So
I think let's just caveat this whole conversation by saying we're not going to talk about anyone from Sheffield United. Actually, no, maybe Ben Brereton Diaz. Exactly. I like Ben Brereton Diaz. I'll throw his name out there now. We've done it. We don't have to talk about Sheffield United anymore.
Okay, Brereton Diaz, when we get to the forwards part, I think it's worth like a 15-second explainer why he might be fun.
Yeah.
Now, let's move to defenders. So when you're looking at Arsenal assets, for me, it's a question of whether you go 2 defenders or 2 midfielders, because in the defence, you've got Gabriel, you've got Saliba, you've got White. So you're not really touching anyone else. And in the midfield, you've got Saka, you've got Odegaard, you've got Havertz. Now, those are all of the options really you want to be considering for Arsenal. For me, I've had Gabriel and White for weeks, and I think given the choice, in a perfect world, doubling up on the defense is a more surefire way of getting points. And their defenders are still good for attacking returns as well. So for me, it makes a bit more sense to double up on the defensive assets for Arsenal. However, what's your perspective on them?
As boring as it is, I completely agree with you. They're less likely to be rotated, especially the ones that you've mentioned. The real rotation risk is at left back, although Zinchenko seems to have claimed it back.
Oh, I don't know. Villa basically won by just attacking that left-hand side.
Yeah, true. So you could, but this is the thing, like you can't guarantee between the two. So I would say like Gabriel, White, or Saliba, 2 out of the 3 can't really go wrong. I would say White's probably the strongest just because he plays at a fullback and he gets forward more. But I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. And the midfield options at the moment, one, they're more likely to be rotated. And none of them are really, like, Saka's the main one. And I think he has been so underwhelming the last 5 or 6 weeks. I would say he would be my last choice out of all of those midfielders. Maybe not after, I'd probably still have him over Havertz. But
Havertz has been awesome over the past 8 to 9 weeks or so.
Yeah, and I hate it.
I know, but it's making you eat your words a bit, isn't it? I think I mean, if I was in a free hit, I would probably be looking at 2 Arsenal defenders and Kai Havertz. There's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, it probably is the logical thing to do, but I don't know.
Sticking on defenders, I have Mitchell as my 3rd sub with 12 points away to Liverpool. It's just like he's gone away to Liverpool. Like, I'm not going to start him. But just obscene, isn't it? But Mitchell, I've got for
obscenely funny.
You've got Munoz. Is it Munoz there as well? Who's I think 4.1 and a starting fullback for Crystal Palace on the other side. So I think you're probably looking at having a Crystal Palace defender, right, for the 2 home games?
Yeah, for the same reason that I said about Henderson, 2 home games, one against a West Ham side who are sort of spluttering a little bit at the moment. The Newcastle one, anything they get out of that would be a bonus, the way Newcastle are playing at the moment. But yeah, I think you'd have a Palace defender in there for sure.
I think so. And I think that Munoz is such great value. And I think in general with the defence, you spend on the Arsenal players, you don't really spend anywhere else.
No, agreed.
However, on a make fantasy fun again aspect.
Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
Trent Alexander-Arnold. He'll be on free kicks. I think if you are chasing and you can get to him without taking more than a 4-point hit and wanted to be very different, Bradley's now injured, so Trent's going to start both games. I think it could be a really fun differential to have. I would prefer going differential with Trent at the moment than I would Darwin. We'll come to Darwin.
He's just too expensive.
Okay, let me throw another name out there, Robertson.
I'd rather go Robertson.
Because he was our best player in the Crystal Palace game. He was creating chances, putting crosses in. I also think Van Dijk is worth a shout because we aim at him in every single corner.
Yeah.
He does get us. If that Endo shot goes in, it would have been a Van Dijk assist. I think we aim at him in every corner, so there's always potential for a headed goal. I think Fulham and Everton are both pretty good defending corners, but you never know with Everton what Everton are going to show up. So I think Robertson's the better option, but Van Dijk could be there as well. But I think Trent is the most fun upside option.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go for a differential, then he probably is the one because he's going to be in so few teams at the moment. But like I say, he's just going to be so expensive. You're going to have Salah. You're going to have Haaland. If you're going with a couple of Arsenal defenders.
On a free hit, I don't think you have Haaland. I wouldn't. On a free hit, I'd be going Trent.
I think you'd still go Haaland.
I mean, maybe we'll talk about it when we get to forwards, but I think you go for double game week players over single game week players.
This is the thing we've always talked about. A good single, and it's Haaland, can easily outperform an okay double.
But would you have Haaland as a... Haaland's not in form. He's not doing well. He only got the penalty. That's the only reason he ended on 10 in the last week. And that's why he got the 2 bonus points. I put him in the same category as Salah, completely out of form at the moment, but you have to have him because of who he is. But on a free hit, when you can avoid him, when there's double game week players instead, I prefer go for a double. Anyway, let's park
We'll
this.
get on that, yeah.
Go back to defenders. Bournemouth, worth saying anything about them? 2 away games. I've got Zabani, but to be honest, it's just because he's got a double that he's there for me. I'm not excited about having him. Should I be?
Yeah. No, I don't think so, really. Any team that concedes 2 goals to Man United, cough, cough, Liverpool, really got to take a long, hard look at themselves. But I think, again, like there's going to be budget enablers in there as well.
Yeah.
But I think you can probably load your defence up. I would also...
Everton, you go Branthwaite if you want the budget, and you go Mikalenko if you want the potential upside.
Yeah, potentially. Or, again, a Wolves defender. Whether it's Nori, dependent on his injury, Max Kilman potentially. Like, there's options there.
Nori looked amazing last time he played, but he wasn't quite fit enough to be in the squad in the last game. And now that Hwang is back, a lot of the space that Nori was taking up is now being occupied by Hwang. So it feels like a bit of a Maddison Pedro Porro situation in that when one isn't there, the other one shines. But when they're both there, they're both muted. So I like Nori, and there is a lot of upside there, especially if he is fit enough to start both games. But I'd be a bit more cautious, especially if you're not wildcarding out of it, or if you don't have a way of getting rid afterwards.
Yeah, I think the way I see it, you've got to get 5 defenders in. If you say you're going on a free hit, there's space for a Wolves defender in there.
Yeah, I guess so. Probably more so actually than a Palace defender, realistically.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay. Do we have anything more to talk about on defenders? I mean, do we really want to speak about Sheffield United?
Nope. Next.
Excellent. So I guess single game week players, it's worth noting that Dallo could be nice against Sheffield United at home.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still Man United.
They'll probably lose 3-1 or something. Never mind.
I could make an argument for like a Diego Carlos or someone at Aston Villa. I thought Diego Carlos had a brilliant game against Arsenal. But there's no one that really jumps out to me from the other single game weeks.
I don't like the Villa pick because they've got Europe and Bournemouth have a week to rest before that game. Bournemouth, it's their first game, and Villa have a midweek game, so I don't really like the Villa picks.
Yeah, or I'll throw Reguilon out there as well.
Yeah, against Luton away, he could get attack and returns. He probably won't keep a clean sheet, but he could definitely get attack and returns.
Definitely.
Brentford's fixtures are nice for the rest of the season, actually. I mean,
yeah, they are. Shame that Tony's not in any sort of good form, because he would be a great pick for the rest of the season.
He's not starting, is he? So I really like the Embremo pick moving forward, but again, they've got no doubles, so
that's the issue. Yeah,
it's a bit more difficult. Let's move on to the midfielders then, and I guess we have to start with Arsenal, right? So I know we've kind of touched on it already. Havertz, Odegaard, and Saka. Now, you mentioned you've been really underwhelmed by Saka. You haven't liked his form. Is he the best of the Arsenal 3?
On paper, and given his history, yes. On current form, no. I did see a stat earlier, and I'm going to try and find it. He hasn't created or received a big chance from open play in his last 5 games, and he only has 1 in his last 7.
Wow.
So that is shocking.
Scored a great goal versus Bayern, though.
Yeah. Shame it don't count for FPL.
Also is on penalties.
Yeah, that's the only other thing.
Just for that, I think you have to own Saka. Arsenal get penalties. They've got Gabriel Jesus and Havertz, who are both diving everywhere. Saka's diving everywhere. He tried it against Bayern Munich. It didn't work. Horrendous dive. I think because Arsenal are going down constantly in the box, Saka's on penalties. He is the default. You have to have him.
Yeah, If it were me free hitting, I would be very, very tempted not to go with him.
I think if I was free hitting, I'd want to be a bit bold. I'd go Havertz.
I think I probably would as well, just because then when he gets nothing, I can say, "See, I told you he was shit."
Good to know your FPL brain is really tuned in. Okay, I mean, Arsenal, we've almost done. Is there a case for Trossard? I don't think so, but maybe.
No, like he's getting a lot of minutes at the moment, but you can just never guarantee it. But I mean, you'd be going a bit rogue if you went for him.
Yeah. Liverpool. Now we've got Salah captain. I'm having Salah captain. It's a non-debate for me. I know he's out of form, but he's still Mo Salah. He's still the best player in the game. We captain Mo Salah when he has a double game week. So for me, I don't like it because of his latest form, but it's almost a complete default. You have to do it. So then, what do you think of the other options? And actually, I guess Liverpool, you can talk about them as a three. You can talk about three different options: Diaz, Nunez, and Jota. Now, Jota is just coming back from injury. He's actually the best of the three, and it's not close. But Klopp seems to really, really favour Luis Diaz, and he seems to prefer Jota coming off the bench. Now, when Jota is back and fully fit, I think he probably more likely takes Darwin's place in the team. But I think Luis Diaz is Klopp's favourite player of all time. So for me, Luis Diaz is still a really good option. And had that wonder save not been made from point blank range by Henderson in the Palace game, I think we'd be having a totally different conversation. So I've got Luis Diaz. I'm fine with having him for this at the moment.
Yeah, I think like Salah's a lock, but it's so hard between the others. Like you say, with them coming back from injury, there's rotation risks. Play on Thursday, although after last week's result, obviously that game could be a bit of a dead rubber.
Reserves Thursday,
and then obviously playing again Sunday, and is it Wednesday? Yeah, it is Wednesday. There could be rotation there. I would be very surprised if you get anyone out of those players you've mentioned playing 290s. So whoever you go with, you've got to be ready to run that risk.
Yeah, is the best course of action with Liverpool just pick two of those three alongside Salah and just accept that rotation is a thing, but Liverpool are so good going forward that all of them will have chances?
Probably, yeah, unless you obviously want to go for a defender. But I would say that's probably the best bet. Just Salah +2 and hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have Salah and...
Thanks for the thumbs up there, Tom.
I'm going to have Salah and Luis Diaz. I'm not going to have either of the other two. If you were on a... Actually, no, we'll talk about that when we get to the forwards. Other midfield options to consider. Now, you mentioned Hwang is back for Wolves to me earlier on WhatsApp. What's your perspective on Hwang? Because he's not on penalties. Cunha will be. So I'm not enamoured by him. And the competitive options for him are Eze and Elise at Palace, both of whom have a double, both of whom have 2 games at home. So give me your thoughts.
I think... Obviously, it depends on the amount of minutes he'll get because he's only just coming back. I think him and Cunha are both better when they're playing together. I think they bring the best out of each other. They create a lot for each other. I can see a world where he gets something, especially against Bournemouth, where that's the second game and he's going to have more minutes under his belt. But I do completely agree with you that Eze and Elise are probably both better options. I just think Hwang could be a differential.
I like them both. I think... What's quite nice as well, Eze is 6 million, Hwang is 5.7, Elise is 5.6. All of them are really, really affordable options. And I think all of them are really great options for this double game week. If you're looking at the 2 Palace players, I know Eze is historically the better FPL player. But I think if you want a bit of upside and you want to be a bit cheeky, you go Elise. He's a better footballer than Eze. And I feel like he's got just as high a ceiling.
I'd say he's even got a higher ceiling. I think he's where he's out on the wing and he's getting further forward and he cuts inside. He does that Arjen Robben type thing of cutting inside onto his left foot. whip him for the far corner. I think he's a more exciting player, but his injury record is horrific.
They're
For me,
getting injured in the first game, aren't they?
Yeah, probably. For me, I'm looking at probably going to bring Elise in as my 1 week pump because I'm going to be wildcarding next week. So for me, it feels like, you know what? For 1 week, 2 home fixtures, especially against West Ham, it makes sense for me to bring him in for that game because he'll easily score 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think not having Palace attacking players is going to be the thing that really hurts me in this bench boost week. Bournemouth, anything to say for their midfielders? Maybe?
Cliver, maybe.
I don't love either of them, to be honest.
No, I think we spoke about him briefly earlier. Brereton Diaz, you can throw his name out there if you want someone.
He's a forward, I think.
No, he's a midfielder.
Oh, he's a midfielder, okay.
Yeah, so he's someone you can throw out there. Why not?
I'd rather go for Brereton Diaz, to be honest. Just Sheffield United at Burnley at home and Man U away. He could get goals in both of them.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
I know Sheffield United are the worst team, but Burnley and Man U are both second and third worst.
Fair enough. Can't say much to that.
Are there any Everton players we would want from the midfield?
No.
Excellent. Let's talk about forwards then, because we have 3 forward slots in our teams, and this is a hotly contested area. Now, my 3 forwards, and again, all are going to be playing because of my bench boost. So my 3 forwards for this week. Oh, actually, before we do, let's go back to midfielders and quickly discuss some of the single game week players. 2 I want to really bring up.
Mbeumo.
3 I want to really bring up. Mbeumo against Luton away, great fixture. Foden, because City have Brighton away, and City will definitely score a load of goals against the depleted Brighton team. And Garnacho for Man United.
Yeah, I've got Garnacho in mind. I'll throw another name out there as well after his haul at the weekend, Anthony Gordon. Again, a player that I have an irrational hatred of, but can't deny he's bringing out the goods. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so yeah, there are good single game week options here. You could easily see any or all of them getting returns. I think out of those, the best, I don't know, there's rumours that Garnacho might have got a little bit of flack. He was liking some tweets that were calling out Ten Hag. So we'll see if there's any backlash from that. Yeah, so I would say out of those, he's on paper, he's the best with Sheffield United at home, but you just never know. Bruno even.
Yeah, Bruno's been, Man U again.
3 goals in his last 2.
Yeah, and he's definitely the penalty taker. So you can see it. Also, if you really want to punt, maybe Rashford.
No, don't. I knew you were going to say that. No, he's dreadful.
I know, but he can't. He's on the ball. He's dreadful. But when he's just pure reactive, instinctual mode, he's looking really good. But that's rare. When he has time on the ball, he's like Theo Walcott 2.0, right? That's what Rashford is.
He just runs straight at a defender.
He doesn't know how to take a man on. He's not good at football. But again, it's Theo Walcott syndrome. That's what Marcus Rashford is.
Anyway.
Stop feeding kids, Marcus. Then let's finally move on to forwards. So my 3 forwards for this week are going to be Haaland, Solanke, and I'm going to go for the Wolves forward, Cunha, who I thought was awesome in the last game. He looked really, really good. And actually, I like the idea of holding him for the rest of the season. His 2 home games are against Luton and Crystal Palace. 2 away games against City and Liverpool, but you bench him for City, you play him against Liverpool.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he's a good shout. He's been in very good form recently, so I don't dislike that at all. The other person, obviously, that you mentioned to me that you were debating about was Mateta, and I think he's really coming into his own in these last few games. You know, I've got a soft spot for Mateta as well.
There is no Mateta, then Jean-Philippe Mateta, na.
Or your one when you were debating Cunha or Mateta with my Cunha Mateta.
Oh.
Don't act like you don't love it.
I do love it. That's the problem. If you're looking at between the two, then who would you be going for? Would you go Mateta because of the 2 home games?
I would, yeah, personally. I mean, Wolves got 2 home games as well, but one of those is Arsenal. Whereas I don't know. I like Mateta. He's big, he's physical, but he's also quick. He's got a good finish on him, which he showed. Obviously, he broke the lines against City and got that goal early on. So yeah, I just think, and he was unlucky not to get a goal against Liverpool as well with Robertson's clearance off the line. So they're making things happen with Eze back, with Elise back. They look better going forward, and it feels like that new manager bounce is sort of prolonged a little bit.
Yeah, it's going pretty well for them, isn't it? Shall we go there then? Shall we go to Darwin Nunez? Now, have you got him in your FPL team at the moment, Matthew?
Yep.
Cool. So I haven't owned him all season, and you know how I 180'd into loving Darwin.
Have you back out of it now?
I've 180 back. Like, I can't stand him. I can't wait. Like, it's just so frustrating.
You watch him score 5 goals in the next 2 games.
And that's the thing. He probably will. But of all the Liverpool players, Darwin Nunez this season has had 39 big chances, and he scores 7 of them.
That's awful, isn't it?
Like 7 out of 39. To give some perspective, Mo Salah has had 30 and scored 15. Diogo Jota's had 14 and scored 7. Luis Diaz has had 16 and scored 6. Gakpo has had 13 and scored 4. Darwin Nunez is clearly the worst finisher Liverpool have, and it's so frustrating. He tries to do all these weird low XG finishes. Like Michael Owen, in his autobiography, was really detailed about the art of finishing. When he was a kid, he tried 10 finishes, like left foot side netting, 10 finishes right foot side netting, 10 dink finishes, 10 lob finishes. He tried all these different types and basically calculated them. He realized he always scored more out of 10 when he dinked, so he perfected the dink finish. Darwin Nunez just hasn't perfected any one type of finishing, which is why he's so bad at all of them, because he doesn't know the right shot to do at the right time and hasn't perfected any of them.
So what you're telling me is Darwin Nunez needs to take more shots against kids like Michael Owen did in that DVD, and then have someone tell him, well done, he's 13.
What a moment. I think he was 12.
Yeah, well, close enough.
But Michael Owen just loved volleying.
He's so good.
Did you see it? Did you see when it came out that he did loads of cheating on his wife, and some girl sent him nudes, and he just sent thumbs up saying tremendous.
Tremendous, that was it, yeah. Oh mate, is there a more boring bloke in the world?
He hates films as well, and he's like, I've seen these 10 films, and the 10 films he's watched are all amazing. It's like Heat, The Wolf of Wall Street, and it's like, how do you hate these films? Oh, Michael, what a man. Anyway, that's Darwin Nunez. I've 180'd on him. Liverpool can't win the title with he has lost Liverpool the title with his inept finishing. I feel like he'd be good to have as a sub for a title-winning team, but not as a starting number 9. And he's about to turn 25 as well. I think if he hasn't mastered it now, he won't master it, unfortunately. So it's very frustrating, but for me, I just can't own him in FPL because I can't stand bloke at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think, like you say, I think it'd be great as like your backup striker in a title challenge, but because he will come on and cause chaos. Yeah. But you don't really want chaos 24/7 because it's not a winning formula, and that's why you see someone like Pep who's so meticulous with everything, and Arteta, who again is like they love control.
I don't know, Gabriel Jesus.
True.
I mean, if there's one person that can rival Darwin for being able to not score goals, it's probably Jesus right now.
Yeah, fair enough. But let's get back to what we started talking about earlier. So the Haaland, no Haaland debate, if you were free hitting this week, who are your 3 better options for strikers than Haaland this week for you?
I think you're looking at double game week teams. I'm going Cunha. I'm going Solanke.
And Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
No.
Surely Mateta's the 3rd.
Yeah, okay, you'll probably go Haaland then. I'll take it back. But you know what? I do like Calvert-Lewin as an option because he's on penalties.
Yeah, but I'll caveat that by saying he's on penalties for Everton.
Okay. And he's also rubbish at finishing, so he'd probably miss.
Yeah, he is definitely the one player that if they did get a penalty and you had in your team, you would bank on him having it saved.
Yeah, 100% as well. And unless that penalty is against Liverpool, because he definitely scored that. But yeah,
no, what would happen is it would be saved and he'd score the rebound.
No, something like that would happen. But either way, I do like other options as well. Of the single, I guess Watkins is still in form. I don't love it, but I like it. I think he's still an option for this. If the fixtures after this game week just turn for them though, and they're playing this after a midweek, so I don't like it enough to do it. Højlund for Man U.
Yeah, I think the best option for the rest of the season is Isak. The man is in form, he's on fire, and he's got great fixtures between now and the end of the season, including a double as well in 37.
37, agreed. I'm going to be bringing him straight in after this week. I'm going to take a -4 to move him out for Solanke. My already planned moves are going to be Salah to Son and Solanke to Isak, just because there's no way I'm not having Isak for the remainder of the season. He is that good. So
yeah.
He'll
get injured, won't he, when we bring him in?
Probably. But at the moment, he's the best striker in the Premier League. Better than Haaland at the moment.
On form, I can't argue with that, yeah. And you look like those fixtures between now and the end of the season, Palace, Sheffield United, Burnley, Brighton, Man United, Brentford. You could easily see a world where he gets 5-6 goals in that time.
That Sheffield United home game, I'm probably going to captain him.
Yeah, and I'll captain him in 37.
Yeah, actually, Brighton and Man U. Yeah, like you absolutely captain him for that double. Can't wait for Callum Wilson to come back and start.
That'll be the killer.
Oh God! I'm not falling into that Isak Wilson trap again. No, you can't make me.
Surely at this point, Isak is their number one.
Oh yeah,
you can't argue with that.
I think he's got to be the number one. But I think you're right. Isak is probably the informed striker and the best player you can possibly have. I know we've both got different strategies for this week. So talk me through what your team is looking like.
So at the moment, my starting 11 is Raya in goal, a back four of Branthwaite, Aït-Nouri, Gabriel and Reguilon. A midfield three of Foden, Saka and Salah with the armband. And then Darwin, Haaland and Solanke up front. That leaves me with Garnacho, Dalot and Palmer on the bench. And my thinking at the moment is potentially Foden out for Elise as a 1 week punt.
Yeah, because you're going to wildcard anyway. So
because I'm wildcarding next week anyway. And then I've got options on the I've got Garnacho and he'll be my first sub. And it's like, but I just think overall, I think that's probably the best 11 I'll play. And then wildcard into bench boost in 37 is my plan.
I like it. So I'm in a slightly different strategy. I'm on bench boost now. So my 11 starting is Pickford, then Gabriel, Zabani and White, then across the middle, Foden, Palmer, Luis Diaz, Salah, Saka, then Solanke and Haaland up top. Then on my bench, all playing doubles is Neto, Cunha, Branthwaite and Mitchell. So essentially just haven't bothered changing my bench because what's the point, right? They're all getting points anyway.
Yeah.
Salah is my captain.
Do you not want to be one of those really quirky people that puts all their best players on the bench? Because then it looks like you've got a really good bench boost score. Because you're really cool.
Yeah, no, I just
fucking losers.
I just haven't bothered changing my bench, to be honest. I could put Gabriel and White on my bench, couldn't I? But no.
Don't do it. I will personally hunt you down and kick you in the balls.
I just can't be bothered. What's the point? They're all getting points anyway. So, yeah, my bench, there's 8 games on my bench. I think this probably, I probably would have Cunha starting over Foden just because of the double. But
yeah.
So that's the only change I would make if I wasn't on a bench boost. But the others are all pretty set and I can't be bothered making that transfer. So yeah, it's a pretty honest bench boost. Let's see if it pays off. I'm quite excited by it because so my aim is to get at least 20 points from my bench that I wouldn't have got otherwise. So actually, maybe because I would start Foden I would start Cunha anyway, maybe I'll make that change and it'll be a completely honest bench boost. So my bench will be Neto, Foden, Branthwaite, and Mitchell. So if I get 20 points from them combined, I'll be delighted.
Yeah, I think that's a good marker, isn't it, for any chip? 20 points.
Because that's what would be my bench realistically. So let's see how that does. Either way, going to be a very fun game week. Remember, this is the biggest game week of the season. If you want to take a -4 or a -8 or a -12 or a -16, then do it, because it'll mean I get further ahead of you.
YOLO.
Well, one of my FPL season last year turned around after a -12 when I just went, fuck it, all in on Lucadinho, and the magic started.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
You never know. So at the moment, I'm about 77k in the world. So I'm expecting, given I'm on a bench boost, I'm going to gain a bit this week. But I know a lot of people are saving their World Cup for 37 or 35 and their bench boost for 37, much like you are. So remember, Chelsea and Spurs, while they're not looking good this week, have a double fixture in 35 and another double in 37. So after this, they're who you want to be targeting. But we will speak to you before then and after we've finished crying over this week.
Yeah, it's going to be painful, but it'll be a laugh, won't it?
Yeah, can't wait. Alrighty, have a lovely weekend, everyone. Have a good game week. And you can find us on Twitter. We are @BigAtTheBack. Come and chat to us.
Yep, I'm @He's92 and Tom is @TomMallow92. And also remember, European fixtures, bear those in mind with your transfers. I know Tom's blown his load already, but
I'll just take a -4 if one of my players get injured. I'm not that bothered.
Yeah, oh well.
YOLO. Right, see you next week, everyone. Good luck.
Bye, guys.